Greetings, Nigeria. In a rapidly escalating international crisis, Nigerians in South Africa are once again facing brutal xenophobic attacks, leaving families in panic and the entire nation demanding answers. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has fired a strong warning to the South African government, vowing decisive action to protect Nigerian citizens abroad. But is this strong rhetoric backed by concrete plans or another episode of diplomatic posturing that leaves our people vulnerable? The attacks have triggered outrage protests and urgent diplomatic maneuvers as the death toll and reports of violence continue to rise. Stay glued as we unpack this explosive situation, the dramatic scenes on the ground, the tense behind-the-scenes diplomacy, and the high-stakes implications that could strain relations between the two nations for years to come. This news is loaded with tension and heartbreak and revelations that will keep you on the edge of your seat. The latest wave of xenophobic violence erupted in several South African townships, with mobs targeting Nigerian-owned businesses, homes, and individuals. Reports describe harrowing scenes of shops being looted, properties set ablaze, and innocent Nigerians beaten while pleading for their lives. The attacks have left several dead, many injured, and thousands in fear for their safety. Videos circulating online show chaos in the streets, with attackers chanting anti-foreigner slogans while victims run for their lives. But what triggered this fresh wave of attacks, and how is the Nigerian government responding on the ground? The details are both shocking and urgent. According to eyewitness accounts, the violence was sparked by local grievances over alleged involvement of foreigners in crime and competition for scarce jobs. In one dramatic scene in Johannesburg, a Nigerian shop owner barricades his store as a mob approaches. "Please, I have children," he begs, through a cracked window before the door is smashed open. His family barely escapes as the shop is ransacked. Similar stories are emerging from Durban and other hotspots, painting a picture of coordinated or opportunistic targeting of Nigerian communities. President Tinubu has responded with a strong warning calling on the South African authorities to protect Nigerians and restore order. In a televised address from the villa, his voice firm and resolute, he declares, "Nigeria will not stand idly by while our citizens are attacked. We demand immediate action and justice for the victims." The statement has been welcomed by many, but critics question whether it will translate into tangible protection or evacuation plans. As the crisis deepens, the bigger question is whether this will lead to a major diplomatic fallout or a renewed commitment to African brotherhood. The tension between the two nations is reaching a boiling point. This fresh wave of attacks has triggered massive protests in Nigeria, with angry youths banning South African flags and calling for retaliation. In Lagos and other cities, crowds gather outside the South African embassy, chanting, "Protect our people or face the consequences." The Nigerian government has activated emergency hotlines for citizens in South Africa and is coordinating with the diaspora for evacuation if needed. Diplomatic channels are working overtime with high-level calls between the two capitals. The human stories from the victims are heart-wrenching. A Nigerian mother in Johannesburg hiding with her children in a safe house recounts the terror. They came with machetes shouting, "Go back to your country. We left everything behind." A young trader who lost his shop in the violence vows never to return. South Africa was our home. Now it feels like a death trap. These personal accounts bring the distant crisis close to home, keeping audiences emotionally engaged. Behind the strong warning, what diplomatic calculations and potential escalation scenarios are unfolding? The intrigue deepens with every new development. Political analysts see Tinubu's statement as a necessary show of strength to appease domestic anger while avoiding full-blown confrontation. In closed meetings in Pretoria, South African officials express concern over the violence but blame local economic frustrations. Nigerian diplomats push for arrests, prosecutions, and compensation. The situation risks straining bilateral trade relations and broader AU dynamics with other African nations watching closely. Detailed timeline of the latest attacks and government responses. Breakdown of Tinubu's warning and his diplomatic language. Regional and diaspora reactions from South Africa, Nigeria, and other countries. Social media trends, public sentiment analysis, and viral videos. Hypothetical scenarios on diplomatic escalation, evacuation, or resolution. Interviews with victims, families, activists, and officials. Broader implications for Nigeria-South Africa relations and African unity. This strong warning from President Tinubu as Nigerians face fresh xenophobic attacks in South Africa has brought the crisis to the forefront of national attention. Whether it leads to meaningful protection and justice or remains diplomatic rhetoric, the conversations it has sparked will continue to influence policy and public trust. Nigerians at home and abroad are watching anxiously as the situation develops. What is your take on Tinubu's warning and the xenophobic attacks? Share your thoughts in the comments, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more in-depth news coverage. This is your platform for unfiltered insights. Until next time, remain hopeful and engaged with the issues shaping our nation and the continent.